This what you see here is your typical van as far as what they use for as what we call a bladder van. As you can see what they did, this is about 250 gallon tote. What they do is once it's empty, they put it inside the van. And what they do to the van is you can see they modify it to fit their needs. What their need is basically to buy fuel, either diesel or gasoline, from gasoline stations using stolen or counterfeit credit cards. This is something typical they do. If they get a van and it does have windows, as you can see, what they do is they paint it. So you can't see at all inside the van. So you can't see the tank that is inside. When the tank is empty, as you can see here, the tires sit pretty low. Sometimes what they do is they'll modify the suspension in the van. So when they do fill it with fuel, because you figure it's 200 gallons, 250 gallons of fuel, it's going to put a lot of weight in a small van like this. So what they do is they'll upgrade the suspension a little bit, maybe add air shocks or something. So when the tank is full, the van is level. But the problem is, although the van may be level, when the tank is full, you will see that the tires are bulging out to the side. So you will see that the tires on the rear especially are under heavy load. That's one of the telltale signs. Another telltale sign about the van is sometimes in the front also, they'll put a cover with the driver. So if you walk up to the driver or the passenger, when you look inside the van, usually they'll put a board or they'll put something so you can't see what's inside the van. Another telltale sign is when they're driving on the street and they're under load, when they hit the brakes or they make a left or right hand turn, you will notice that the van will start to sway.
No baffle.
No baffle. The problem is, since it's so full of fuel, when they turn left, all the fuel goes to the left, to the right, so you'll see the van either swaying left or right or back and forth. As you can see, what they do here is pretty crude. What they do is, in this case, they put a gas hose to the actual existing tank that the van carries with a pump. But in this case, as you can see, it's just two open wires. What they do is they'll put the two wires together. That'll start up the pump that they have concealed inside the van. It'll start siphoning fuel from the gas tank of the van into the bladder. As you can see, this van is empty and you can still smell the gasoline, you know. And a lot of the times when you get at the gasoline station, you'll walk by them, you'll just get a strong odor of gasoline or diesel coming out. Well, not even a month ago, your department came in contact with one of these vehicles that was using fuel. Basically, when they start pumping gas into these things, they're very volatile. Anything could set them off. Just a month ago, you guys put out a fire on 153rd Avenue in Sunset where a van just sitting there full of fuel, no one in it not occupied, ignited on its own and caught fire. And I even saw the video when you guys opened the back door, how the fuel exploded and two or three guys basically had to fall back because the van was full of fuel. Basically, as firefighters, you all need to be careful because these things are highly volatile. In our opinion, these things are rolling bombs. We haven't had any more incidents by the grace of God, but I'm sure as it continues to grow and now that they're pumping more gasoline than they are diesel and gasoline is more volatile, you're probably going to see a lot more incidents of these vans catching fire or even exploding.
Would you consider it good advice for our firefighters and company officers that if they have a spill or if they have a fire involving a suspect vehicle, to ask, where is the driver?
Yes, that's correct.
Where is the driver? If the driver took off, according to witnesses, or if the driver is nowhere to be found, does it raise a red flag?
Absolutely. That means that they dumped the vehicles. They know, they're doing something illegal. If something were to happen like that, immediately contact us at the police department. We will come out. Our unit is basically, we're tackling this. We're after this 100%. Anyone from fire calls us, says, I have a possible bladder, we have a van abandoned with a tank inside, you call us, we'll go out, we'll do the investigation, try to identify who owns the van, who was driving the van at that day, talk to witnesses, see if we get a sketch or at least some information on who was driving the van that day. We have the larger vans also. This is a smaller van. We have the 2500 and 1500 vans. We're also running into the pickup trucks. A lot of things what they do with the pickup trucks is they'll buy like old boats and they'll remove the aluminum tanks from the boats. Now, how do I know it's from a boat? If anyone here has owned a boat before, you'll know that when they put a tank inside your boat, it usually is concave to fit the V. They'll pull out these tanks and they'll lay it in the back of the bed of the pickup truck. And then what they'll do is they'll throw a board over it and they'll cover it with something, with that felt grassy look and black. So what happens is when you walk up to it and you look at the van, all you see is a pickup truck. You don't see what's inside. But if you open the rear lid, you will see the tank with all the hoses and all the pumps set up inside. Usually they like to use vehicles that are 20, the 3/4 ton trucks, because obviously they hold more and they don't slouch as much as when they're full. They also do the same thing. They try to upgrade the suspension to try to keep the trucks level. When they're full, they're not sitting low. Another thing that we ran into are flatbeds. The flatbed pickup trucks, the flatbed trucks. What they've been doing with those, if you look at a flatbed usually has an 8-inch or 6-inch skirt that's hanging from the side. What they'll do is they'll buy a flatbed truck or a flatbed bed. They'll flip it around. Now, when you flip around a flatbed, you'll have the 8-inch skirt all the way around, so pretty much you have 8 inches. And then it'll be ribbed. What they'll do is they'll drill a couple of holes through the ribs, then they'll just get a piece of metal, flat metal, put it over, weld it all the way around, do the drop hoses on the sides. They'll flip it back around and they'll drop it in the back of a pickup truck or a truck. The drop hoses will end up, they'll usually on the left or right hand side, they'll put a toolbox. And that's where the drop pipe will go into the toolbox. When you open the toolbox, you'll find the nozzles coming down, and then you'll find the equipment in order to pump the fuel out of there. So what happens with those trucks is they're heavy duty trucks. As they're driving or they're rolling, you won't see them roll. You won't see them. It's baffled. So that's why they make the holes. So when they hit the brakes, the fuel slowly goes forward, and when they accelerate, it slowly goes back. And then what they'll do is just throw a bicycle, a tire, a pallet. They'll strap something down to it. So as we drive by, we look at it, we think it's a normal work truck. But usually we see those flatbed pickup trucks. And also lately, another one, I think we have one here, the Isuzu trucks. They're using those now too. Because you get an Isuzu truck, it sticks, the box trucks, you get 4 or 6 containers of these fuel bladders inside the box trucks.